Okay, cool. So we are back. If you watched our Tech Tuesday, we kind of learned a little bit about On-Purpose Adventures, but I've got Ben and Beth here today. We've been working together for, gosh, 2 or 3 years now. The systems have evolved over time, and we'll kind of dig into those today. I want to go behind the scenes of what we've built, how those have evolved over time. But if you didn't get to watch the other video, Ben and Beth, I would love for you to kind of explain exactly what On-Purpose Adventures is, what the structure is as far as like what it takes to run a business like this, right? You've got a sales side, you've got customer service, you've got fulfillment, you've got events happening both locally and out of state and across the state. So would love to kind of hear both your perspectives of what that structure looks like and what your week looks like from supporting your business.
Great. Thanks for having us, John. We help companies save tens of thousands of dollars with employee retention, focused, adventure-based team building and bonding, effective and unconventional. We create experiences that challenge people to grow. So that's a big catch-all from what we do, but experiential team building, we are the no trust fall, the no ropes course, and no death by PowerPoint organization. We have a lot of fun with that. And I want to be outside. I want to be outside facilitating. I want to be on the water. I want to be doing the things that we do. And so this journey for us on the back end, which I used to do all by myself before I brought on Beth and had different folks along the way, has really changed the makeup and ability for our business to be more than just my abilities.
Yeah, I came on board in 2022 and my roles evolved too. Started out first being interested in helping with the game development, but then when Ben saw my other skill set, we decided that I'd be even more of a fit with the administration operations side of things. So currently I specialize in both operations and engagement. So I get to do both. I get to interact with clients, but I help the whole process from the time of event is booked all the way through the post-event for the communication behind the scenes. A lot of the times, I would say I'm probably 75% do things behind the scenes, and then 25% of the time I get to be on the field or at events or at DMO meetings or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's a nice balance for me to get to do both. But I have a joy out of getting a process to work right and to figure out how we can smoothen things out and make it efficient.
Awesome. So from a high level, let's talk about what happens when a customer comes in. So I'm a team leader and I've heard about, everybody knows about team building. I don't want to do the trust fall, using your terminology there, Ben. So I somehow stumble across On-Purpose Adventures, whether it was referred to me from somebody else or I find you online. What does that process kind of look like when I show some interest? Again, from a high level, and then we'll kind of dig down to all the in-between of what makes that become a reality.
Well, high level, they've gone typically to our website. We are one of those rare companies that we are still at almost 65 to 70% desktop views, where most everything else is mobile. But we are dealing with corporate folks that are tasked with researching this activity. They may find us on Google Maps or something on their phone, but they find us, they schedule a call, we talk, and then we put in the information and get started. But it basically starts from website, phone call. No pricing is on the website. So we have to have this consultation to even see if we're a good fit. And because we are customized, creating personalized experiences for the client, that's where it starts. And then high level, once we get the go ahead, we start that process. I fill out a form. I don't want to get in the weeds there, but then it hands off to Beth and her team on making that happen. And facilitators get assigned and we facilitate the event. And then we have an incredible back end process too.
Yeah, and we'll dig into that. I think one thing that you guys have focused on is taking the burden off of the customer, right? So essentially, like, I want this thing. You guys have a long list of services. They finally pick one or two or three, and then from that point forward, it's kind of that white glove service. Which for somebody in corporate, when I have a day job and then I also need to work on this team building event, it's a lot to manage both of those. So to know that basically once I've selected my options, you guys handle it from there is very reassuring, I'm sure.
Well, as the business has evolved from just adventure event planning, doing whitewater rafting trips and survival trips from the individual standpoint, to adventure-based bachelor and bachelorette parties, we had a slogan back then called "We are the best man's wingman," and I haven't found the right phrase to be the hero. I like to say that we make the person that calls us look like a hero, because we let them focus on the next thing. Because when they're planning, we are one part of a bigger approach to their event, an offsite, a retreat, whatever they're doing. We want them to know we got this. We also come with backup plans like weather plans, and we agree to it. So we have all these somewhat ad nauseum conversations at the very beginning, but that way there's the sense of relief when something does require us to pivot. We just go to the plan that we already agreed on. We're not having to figure out, well, crap, it's got a thunderstorm in 30 minutes. What are we going to do? Okay, well, we're good. We have it planned. You've already done this part, and our team already knows. So we try to make it as easy as possible for them to focus on other things with certain elements that may not be as able to be as structured as what we are.
Yeah, I love that. And so I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to kind of go through the high level. We don't need to go through pipeline, but we'll kind of explain what that looks like here. Let me share my screen and we'll kind of dig in here. So I'll start us off here. I think this is really one of the biggest entry points after the sales call, right? So because I don't want to go through the pipeline, but essentially, right, somebody submits a form, they show interest, they might say, I've got 25 people, I'm looking for dates in May, we're interested in a couple of these services. They may or may not be on track with that, right? So that is a step from a customer service perspective. Ben, you jump on a call with them and said, hey, that might sound good, but based off of your type and your size, I actually recommend this. You drive them to show them exactly what they need. But at the end of that, you have 40 some odd details that you kind of need to get into this entire system. And so we collaboratively built this form. You guys, we'll show the EDS template here in a minute, but you guys had a pretty decent structure when we started looking at this of, I've got 25, 30 questions at the time. We need to know all of that for each event, because again, you guys could have multiple events during the week across multiple clients. And that's a lot to track. And then on their end, they want to be treated like they're the only client. So, you have all that information here. And so this is a form that we built inside of the toolkit. We're understanding the key contact information, the other contacts that are on top of that. A lot of event details in here as the start location, the end location. You guys do the scavenger hunts, weather backup option, as you mentioned, number of teams. So essentially, anytime that I can come back and look at this information, I know exactly what's going on. And I think the greatest part about this is a form, to me, is the easiest way to enter this, because, especially after you've done it a couple times, you start at the top, work your way down. Not every field is required. But when we built this backend automation, to me, this is kind of where the magic happens. And we have this EDS template. And Beth, you did an amazing job. You already had a lot of great structure here. You have the different sections, but essentially it takes all of those answers in the form and then fills out this entire Word doc. You've got information for invoicing down here at the bottom and structures it in a way that any person on the team can look at this and understand exactly what's going on. I love technology, but having 45 fields spread across an entire piece of software is very difficult, right? Because there's a different sections. So you organize this in a way that all my most important information is at the top here inside of the box. And then we kind of fill in all the other details after that. The other piece of this is we create some calendar invites. So internally, you guys know that, hey, now from 12 to 5 on the 28th is blocked off. We know about that with the content, or whatever customer that is. We can even invite that customer to that. So now it's blocked off on their calendar. I think we also now create it for your facilitators. So now we invite the facilitators to a calendar invite. So that way they know, hey, I've got to be there 30 minutes before the event. This is my work hour shift, so that they can manage that. Because I know some of your part-time workers are balancing other jobs. So they now have all the information that they need. But all of that comes from this single form.
Yes.
I'll jump in real quick there. As we evolve and as the process goes, we also look for ways of removing friction points and other pieces of software. We had a scheduling system that we were using based on another company that we have, and we were using that, but we realized, hey, we can get rid of that cost and just use the regular calendar feature. We just had to explain how that works and everything. And when typically actually the customer or the facilitator is going to get 2 events. One is for the event time with the customer included. The other one is their arrival time. So we've literally made it so that they can also see those side by side visually to know the differences.
Yeah, that's a good point. It lets them know, like, this event, I'm there 30 minutes earlier. Sometimes maybe have to be there a lot earlier based off of the setup or anything else like that. That's really powerful. And also, like, on the back end of this too, Beth, we automated the emails that go out. So after this is booked, we kind of send a confirmation email, and then we schedule. Well, there's some emails that go out immediately, but we also have some scheduled emails that go out, like, I think it's 8 weeks in advance or 4 weeks in advance. So we scheduled all of that. They're templated out. It takes, again, a lot of the information that was entered into this form. So I'm not copying and pasting data into this form or into this document, into emails. Our inboxes are crazy enough as it is, and keeping track of when to send that out, especially if you have multiple events in the same week, you got to keep track of all of that. And again, we're sending those 4 or 8 weeks out. So trying to be in a calendar 2 months ahead of time, that's not a great place to be spending your time. So all of that is managed. And then the other big piece is, I think it's something like 20 or 30 different tasks we want to track per event. So some are due in the first couple of days as soon as they book, sending the emails and getting some of the things in place. Some are due a couple of weeks out, or some are due, the days leading into it. And so we were able to build that where it sends the information over to Monday, which is really where you do the project management. So that's a highlight I always like to cover, is the CRM is built for like closing the deal and collecting the information. And then your project management is really more for like that executing and implementation. And so we use monday.com for that. But again, the details that we care about come over there. I think we even link back to this EDS sheet. So that way it's not just like in a Google Drive somewhere that I have to search for the client name. It's easily accessible. And so at the end of the day, we're spending our time in the toolkit for the first half, and then really after that, everything's kind of managed in Monday in this Google sheet.
And that's probably my favorite part of it, is once this form has collected everything. And that's why I love to see as much detail in the form initially as possible. Then, because of how it just sort of cascades out to the different places, it goes to monday.com and creates to-do lists for me and our team. And so I can then just bring up my work for the day, and it will have put things in order for, if it's 3 or 4 different events, it's based on what I've pre-scheduled for it to do. And then I also have the freedom to go in with monday.com the way you set up the task template. And if we find that we no longer need a certain task anymore, we're not doing that anymore, we can just delete that. Or I can change the days. Like, we've recently decided to move something up to be done shortly after booking, where before we were waiting till the 8 weeks before. Now we're seeing there's a value in setting up a communication stream pretty much when the event is booked, because we use WhatsApp with our team. And so that seamlessly can be populate either onto my to-do list or one of our team, whoever's assigned. I can change who is assigned to that, and I only have to change it one place, and for any future event it will then do that. And I know it helps me a lot keep track of all the different details, and then I can manually change due dates if I see, I really don't need to do that for another week or two, there's too much else and more important this week. I can manually bump the deadline further out if I need to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm thinking, we have 20 or 30 tasks. That's a lot of math to figure out of, what's due this week, what's due 4 weeks from now. And again, having to do backwards math, I think, is even more complicated of, hey, this event is 9 weeks out. So that means that 7 weeks from now, I have to go do this task. So all of that was managed. And I'm sure you've adjusted that along the ways.
I do. I adjust it if I feel like
to,
the task should be done sooner in the process. It's just easy in one spot, though. So that's just amazing to me how far we've come in 3 years or more, to see from just kind of more manually managing this stuff to that form. But the key pivotal point is getting that form filled out, and then it starts the whole process.
Yeah. But it's great because I think as you start your week, you have tasks for maybe 4 or 5 or 8 different events, categorized for this week. So you don't even really care about the event as much. Like, yes, that's in the future, but you're just looking at your that task list for that day or for that week. And yes, then you need to go remember, oh, who's the contact person for this event? But at least you're not looking at the event first and working backwards. It's just, here's what the system told me to do, which is really a big focus, I think. And that way, every day when you log in, you know what you need to work on versus like going and searching for it, or Ben doesn't need to check on statuses. I'm sure at this point, Ben, you trust things to be handled, which is an amazing spot to be as a business owner.
I don't know a thing that they do on the back end. What you and Beth have created. Luckily, just so everybody listening, like we have SOPs, we use Scribe, we do video screen recordings, and we have a hidden playlist on YouTube. So if anything should happen, people get sick, vacation, whatever, and multiple folks that we have as proxy that can do certain things and they can't do it, I can figure it out, but it's not presence of mind. Like, so it'll, you know, I used to run things, but now I literally don't know. When you talk about the boards and all that kind of stuff, I know the special Ben views and the things that you created for me. I was able to navigate the timesheets and all that we'll get to in a little bit, which is intuitive. And I had input on what that needs to look like and everything. So, but from the back end, like I have no idea of, okay, well, this event is only 2 weeks out. Like I have no idea right now if I were to log in, what are the boards, what do we switch and all that. So I love that I'm able to remove my brain matter from that process and focus on the creative and the facilitation side. But we have the firewall of knowing how to do it if we need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does allow for customization, which is nice too, because a lot of our events the base plan is similar, like a Holy City Wanderer is very frequently used, but we do customize even more now than we used to per client, some things of additional things with Hunt for Cohesion, or if they're going to use rickshaws, so we're starting to nuance some of the things, and you've been great to work with, John, as we come up with the new nuances. I have more things coming to talk to you about that we are now, because we work with third-party planners and the process is a little different when we work with them. And so the next step will be tweaking some of the tasks based on whether they're a third-party planner or not. And so knowing that we can get in and work it a little bit more is kind of exciting. And there's usually a way to figure out how to make that part even smoother.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of takeaways here. So to me, I've always said the goal is being able to maybe travel more or vacation more in your business. But Ben, I think you've set a new standard of a business owner doesn't know what's happening in their business to a positive, from a positive angle, right? Like you don't need to know because your team is handling it. We've put the right systems in place. You have the right people in place, and you combine all of that together. And essentially you just said, oh, hey, I have a Holy City Wanderer happening on Thursday afternoon. I'll show up with the right things. I'll open up the sheet and like everything else is handled. And I think to your point, that lets you go focus on the facilitation, the creativity, growing the business.
And then we're getting to the point where I'm also making sure though, because I still get to see some emails, we also are making sure that we have redundancies in place that if details change, that they get updated. Sometimes in the past, they wouldn't get updated, but I was aware of it, so it's okay. So we're making sure that we have these double check scenarios so that when it's facilitators, not me doing it, that didn't get the emails, they can trust the reliability of the information they have there, which is very crucial. And to the business owners out there, the managers that feel like this is a big task, and I can tell you that, as somebody that it was all in my brain and I was working it and I didn't write things down. It was challenged. There was a time investment that was required to literally write down. We literally just wrote down all the things and all the steps and all that kind of stuff first. Okay, what can be automated? What doesn't? So it takes some time, but the ability of freeing up the mental space to focus on the business then is a dramatic change from how we're able to operate now. And so the investment spent with the optimization specialists and with Beth's team and all that has been returned in spades because of productivity, efficiencies, and a consistent product. Like that's the biggest thing too, is the reason we're able to be so trusting or trustful to our clients, especially the DMO stands for Destination Management Organizations that are our repeat clients. They bring us a new client all the time, but it's the same people that are asking us for the event. They are able to rely on us for the consistency. And that's what having these back-end systems really do and create, is the consistency.
It does. I will add to that with like the EDS and the form spilling everything into the EDS, which means event detail sheet for those who are watching and maybe don't know the acronym. We're able to take that sheet because it is a Google Doc, and we can share it into our communication stream. We created a WhatsApp stream for each event, only containing the people who are working that event. And so it's a great container to then these documents that are made. The other good thing it does is your system that you helped us with creates a media folder automatically. So we automatically have a folder to save any pictures that facilitators take and what comes from the game. And it all goes in the same folder. So in that stream, we're able to link all these things, and they know when they're on site, they can pull up WhatsApp and everything they need is right there. That's already, most of that was pre-created by this system. And all the information gets changed in just one place, so they have the latest. And then we can emphasize a particular change in that. If we want to mention, we talked to a client, this is what's going on now. And I think our facilitators have felt more in the loop, maybe, of what is unique about an event, and they know, oh, here's the waiver link. Here's all the things I need. If at the last minute somebody hadn't signed a waiver, it's right there in that one stream.
Well, one thing that this process has allowed us allowed it to happen and have facilitators thrive are folks that are of different personality or behavior than me. Prior to COVID, prior to any of these operations, majority of our facilitators were fast-paced, make decisions, because that's who I was. That's what I felt that the positions needed. You needed to be able to, I wouldn't literally give them their job role till they showed up that day. And the type of folks that we had back then, they're like, okay, great. Now, was it perfect? No, but we made it. It was great. But now, because we have these details and we have them early enough, folks can review and check, and they can actually ask questions prior. So I bet I have become a better leader because of the people we've been able to hire or the contractors, but they actually review the details, and they know what their role is, and they know the bigger picture. So when they're reviewing what they're being asked to do, they have a brain looking at something that is different than mine. So we're able to point out the shortfalls or the confusion or the ambiguity that normally would be okay. But now I have a much more, some of them are much calmer and easier to work with in many environments.
Well, and that information, going back to the form, there's now the part where you can add notes right in the form after talking with the client. And that is things they can read, like Ben saying, they can read ahead of time. And then I can also post things on our communication stream after I might meet with the client for custom content and things. And we had one client that gave us custom content on all 10 people that are going to be part of it. And we're going to actually provide a separate document as a gift to them too. But giving that to our facilitators, they can read about the 10 people who are going to be playing. So they can even have a better, sense of perhaps getting to know the participants even a little bit before the day. And that increases engagement, where our yellow camo crew can feel like they know this client already a little bit, and they can adapt how they interact with them accordingly.
That's really cool. I know I've heard that's used in surgery settings where they at least learn a little bit about the patient, so they know that they're working on like a human versus another body on the table.
Yes.
They at least just give them the very basic information, mother, daughter, son, whatever like that, just so like they know that person. So there's just a little bit of extra engagement or attachment there. One other thing I wanted to mention, and we'll kind of go over to the time tracking piece. Beth, you were saying that now you're able to go more custom. So I like we kind of did the crawl, walk, run, maybe in some cases sprinting of like we got the systems in place so we could lather, rinse, repeat, and that became so comfortable. It's like, okay, typically custom is expensive or just difficult to manage, but for you it's like, okay, well, here's the main template, but now I can just add these sub pieces. But if we're always custom, then I don't think we would have got the well-oiled machine together, and then we kind of would have been all over the place. So I love that we were able to build the foundation and tweak it as we go, whether your needs changed, which they have, like we've added the customization around the third-party organizers, or just essentially you want to offer a better product now. And because the systems are in place, you trust being able to just tweak that 1 or 2% because it's not going to make the whole thing go off course. So I think that's another great thing with the systems. And that kind of just leads us into like a final thing now is like, how do I get rid of another piece of software? And we'll go into the time tracking here. So I know you guys were using some type of system. I can't remember the name of it. Homebase maybe to do tracking, which was another system,
and you know, payroll. I would review on it.
Yeah, scheduling and payroll. And so I like Monday is such an amazing tool because you can use it for a lot of things. You guys, I mean, the core use that we're using today are the action items for all the different events. The event views give you how much, you know, out of 30 tasks, how many of those are complete, which is good. But we're like, hey, like I'm paying for this whole other system to do time tracking and scheduling. Could we organize this? So we added the ability to create those calendar invites based off of that form. We've already spoke about that. So now your facilitators are scheduled, but at the same time, they want to get paid for their time. And so we inside of Monday built basically two kind of forms. There's the time tracking, which does pretty much exactly what you would think. You select your name, whether you're flat fee, hourly, or retainer, the category, the event name. This, you guys have an internal code for all of your different events. It's sorted, I think, alphabetically here. So that way they can easily find it. So they know, hey, today is the 5th. So that can auto-populate. The event name is down here on, you know, all the March dates, things like that. And then this is entered. And we'll show the table view here in a second. On the other side of this are your expense forms. So these events, you know, always have some type of supply you're probably buying on the way to the event or just things you're prepping ahead of time. So rather than, Ben, you having to buy all of this, you want to allow your team to do that. And again, tracking that, receipts, all the book work and things that go with that. So we created a very basic form. And both of those funnel into a single view here in a second. Ben, looks like you're about to say something.
I was going to say one thing I had to, by adding this one, I also had to remind folks, a couple folks do have credit cards that are company cards. And I had to say, okay, expense tracking is for things you pay with yourself, not mine. I pay double for the actual expense.
Yeah, you pay the credit card bill off and give them money for the thing that they spent. But like on the expenses side here, you know, we track when they're paid or not paid. So obviously as they enter them, they go in as not paid. So Ben, you have a very simple view at the end of the week or the month that tells you, you know, who the employee was, the event that it was for your bookkeeping to understand how much did we spend on each event, both labor and expenses. They enter in the reimbursement amount, the receipt. You have the totals here at the bottom. And all of this is kind of automatically created from the views that we built around the expenses. And then on the monthly payroll, you just wrap this up, but it groups it by person. So you know how much you're going to owe them. You go in and put in the hourly rate or the flat fee rate. And it kind of does all of that. And of course, there's softwares out there to do this, but from where you're at right now, being able to use a system you're already paying for and just being able to transfer that. And as long, really to me, the big ask is make sure the employees get paid for the work that they did. And this helps you accomplish that.
Well, let's say that this is actually the impetus on the reason we even have this. This became the secondary feature of this form. The original purpose for this was to track expenses per event. I wanted to know when we can't view that with just all the company information and everything, but you know, the whole purpose of doing this was I don't know truly what my events cost, like with staffing, with all these other expenses, with the time that Beth and her team put in, with all these things before the event and after the event. I don't know what it costs to run a particular event. So now we're going to have a window into actual numbers and knowing percentages and things like that, which we've never had before. I have rough ideas, but we're able to even factor in, you know, the expenses they're like we give drawstring backpacks to everybody that does a scavenger hunt. Well, that's simply a math thing. You know, this many people times this cost for this. Okay, well, there's that much cost for that event for this thing. So the original purpose for this was realizing what my expense per event was. And then it said, hey, this can also turn into a payroll tracking thing. And that's where it kind of morphed. And, you know, software wise, you know, outside, like it just makes it seamless and just more data that we can have in the future. And the crazy thing is, while I'm not a big fan of the typical corporate structure, and as we have all these TLAs, the 3-letter acronyms, we understand the efficiency of it and having these, terminologies, but we always have to remember, okay, let's explain them, make sure everybody knows what's going on. But it's helpful from an organizational standpoint. And we feel like 15 years in that we're finally feeling like a business, right? It's not just, me being self-employed, getting paid to play, which was my original intention, right? That was the vision. Well, if I got to fight for money, I was a sales guy for an organization and not getting my commissions. Well, if I got to fight for money, why not do something I truly love doing? And as things have changed along the way, and I have a bigger mission that what I want to accomplish, it's more than me. And so as I put I remove that ego piece and say, hey, other people can probably do it better than I can. What can we accomplish if I don't care who gets credit?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and I like it too, because like you put in the sweat equity to figure out the ins and the outs of it. Like all of this was built around kind of your mindset. And I know going back to getting that out of your brain into these systems, that is probably the most difficult part, especially when you're busy. I always say, like, when you're starting a business, it's hard to get these systems in place because you don't know what systems you need in place. Then all of a sudden you start doing really well, you start getting busy, and you start feeling like you're drowning because you're too busy. Well, then it's very difficult to like smooth out that. And to your point, it was a longer process because like we had to figure out each step along the way. We can't just go and create an end-to-end system on day one. It's just like, well, let's start off with the sales process, or let's start off with the event management process. And that's where we first started. Monday was your first implementation, just like, hey, for one event, I have 25 tasks. How can we build that? And that's kind of the way that we started. Is like, what's the main problem trying to be solved? A little self-confidence here, but like understanding how the technology works. So I take the tools that we have at our disposal and use it to fix the problem that is trying to be solved. And we've done that now probably 20 different times, whether it's a small feature or a really large complex feature. And then that's how at the end of it all, you get an end-to-end thing. I see a smile, Ben.
Well, then we butter you up and we say, you're a really smart guy. I know you can figure this out. It should be able to happen. We just got to figure it out how.
Yeah, my Christy always has to remind me that I can't get paid in just compliments and smiles. It's like we have a business to run, but it is fun. And Ben, like we've talked about this before, the way you and I think, we've used other software, or what are some small features. We added a small feature where you have a call inside of the toolkit, it's recorded, the transcript is sent over to AI, and we make sure it extracts the exact details you need for follow-up, right? Like that was a small thing, but it was kind of an idea. It's like, I'm sure this is possible. There's expensive apps out there that do this. We have access to these APIs. Let's just see and get, put together on a playground and see like what's happening. And we were able to emulate that. So that's where I have fun. What was that?
I need to switch over for Gemini from GPT.
Oh, yeah. I was switching the back
I'll
end.
also add that one of the things that I've recently used in the AI world for the last couple of months is I will brain dump into an audio file. I literally just record myself, because if you start talking to an AI, they interrupt you, they, whatever. So I will literally record a 10, 15-minute file and then upload it, ask for the bullet points and recap, not just the transcript. But so that allows us to take, I get to download my brain in a very efficient way, and it you don't have to get distracted by the ums and the ahs and all that, and so that's been extremely helpful when your brain is can be chaotic. So write that down for anybody who needs to know. And how do you get the most out of it? Because I was so frustrated with talking to my AI that would interrupt me. I'm like, why are you so rude? I'm not done yet. I'm pausing. I'm thinking. So
yeah, but I love that you solved that problem again. It's like, hey, I'm driving, because you said you're out on the road or you're out in the water a lot. Like, I need to get this idea out of my head into into a document of some kind, and then you found a way using the tools at your fingertips to make that happen, and that's great. We'll kind of start wrapping this up here, but really love the fact that we, over time, it does take time, and at one point a year ago, we were finished with the problem you had a year ago, and then new problems form because the company grows and things like that, right? Like you'll never outrun the challenges because you almost create your own in a positive way. Otherwise, you're not growing. Like I would hate to build a system and the company's like, oh yeah, we've been using the same system for 3 years now. It's like, well, then that means that your business hasn't evolved much over the last 3 years. And so as your company's evolved, new things have come up, and we just find, you mentioned the friction spots, Ben. Like I feel like that's all we're doing is a lot of times like we've sanded a lot of edges, but every once in a while you'll find that one last little burr, and like we'll sand that down to make it as polished as possible. And Beth, like you said, and now that you know what's possible, you kind of keep that list in the back of your head or on a sticky note somewhere, and we meet again and we kind of just keep adding those enhancements. So there's always a path. I think sometimes it's like, okay, how much time is this taking, right? Like we've definitely took care of the biggest rocks first, and now we're working down to the smaller rocks. But allowing you to spend more time on the things that you do really well at versus just like paperwork or all the in-between things is really powerful, and that also helps Ben. So this has been an amazing like journey as far as everything goes, and who knows what we're going to be building over the next 12 months for you guys. But it's been a great thing, and it's been exciting to see how our systems have really helped you grow the business. I won't take all the credit. Like Ben, you've got the creative mind and things like that. But I know that if your brain capacity, as you mentioned earlier, was filled with all the what's happening for this event, or do I have all the details that I need, then you wouldn't be able to go and have that extra creative mind. So it's been great working with you guys. I don't know if you guys have any other closing words. You guys can definitely plug in OnPurpose Adventures. I hear you guys talked about a lot, and I definitely recommend you to people. And I try to take the things I've learned from you guys too to different businesses that we work with.
Well, I love that. One thing I'd love to just say thank you to your company and you especially. I actually feel like you're part of our team. I'm regularly in touch with you almost every week on WhatsApp, and you're so quick to respond and help us figure out, because I learn as I go, and I believe in layered learning, and we build a good system because we try some things and then we see what else needs to be added. I get overwhelmed if we try to build the entire system at one time to solve every problem and try to anticipate everything. Instead, let's just start doing it. And as we identify things, ooh, this would be really nice if we could stop that task from coming up or start this one from, and so we've done a lot of that. And it's great for me to feel like it's okay to reach out to John and say, hey, this is something we're going to need to fix this, or we're going to need to update this. And this helps our whole team be stronger in each of what we're stronger at. It is freed up some things for me to use my administrative brain less for the little tedious tasks as much, so the other team members can do that. And Ben is helping me see, yes, but the systems operations brain more, and then engaging with the clients to pick up some of the details they want to customize and bring their event to that much more of a personal level. So the day they're doing their event, they feel like, wow, these people know us, or and that makes their planner, whoever it is, whether it's a third-party planner or the coordinator who is assigned the job from the company, look like they did this fantastic job. And this is so personal. This is great. So that freed me up to do more of that kind of thing, so that our other team members can be doing, if you want to call it the tedious, also very vital work, but more of the tedious work. And yet there's times that the automations are not the answer. We need to send personal emails, and that's okay. Yeah, we have to. I think people need to understand that you can't automate 100% of everything, because then it becomes impersonal. But it helps walk alongside us so that we can do the personal stuff, because the other things that can be automated are being done. So
yeah, 100%.
I would say that I would agree and echo that, John. I think you're part of the team just as much as any virtual assistant that we are. You're a friend, but also just such a vital part to what we've done, and the peace of mind that you guys have brought to our operations is in allowing us to go to the next level for scale. Like I never had a vision for scale. It just wasn't the thing. I enjoyed doing what I did. I got paid to do it. It was fun. But I have a bigger vision now, and that can't be accomplished without a team and systems. And so you've really allowed that to happen.
That's awesome. So I really appreciate the kind words.
The increase in rates has been justified too,
Yeah, I'm pulling that book from YouTube, Ed. Like we all gotta keep adding that value. But yeah, one thing we're trying to run with is like, using Chick-fil-A as an example, right? Like we really want to make sure that we turn your systems into a Chick-fil-A drive-through, because we've all been there. The experience, like it's wrapped around the building, but it's just like they've got one meal after another, and you can get through that line in no time. So really, again, thank you guys for joining me and kind of walking through this, being able to pull back the curtain on the systems that we've built. A lot of times it's just me screaming at a screen and just like trying to explain it, but it's been good to have the other humans that help me build this and bring in how it's really helped support you guys versus me just showing a bunch of screen views. So thank you guys again. OnPurpose Adventures, you guys are here in Charleston. You guys are also doing work up in Greenville, and I know you also travel. So anybody listening to this that wants like an amazing team building bonding experience, like these guys will come out to you. And I've seen the stuff that you guys do, and there's so much intention behind it versus, hey, you got a budget, like let's just try to take that budget and, you know, make your people talk to each other with games after work or something like that. So thank you guys again. I'm sure we'll have future conversations. I know we'll continue to evolve in the systems, but until next time, appreciate everybody for watching too.
Thanks, John.
See ya.